It is indeed a great pleasure for me to be able to come and speak to you. Let me also say about English and other languages. ਕੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲੂੰਗਾ। ਕੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਫੈਡਰਲਿਜ਼ਮ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਕਨਵੈਨਸ਼ਨ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਡਾਕਟਰ ਧਰਮਵੀਰ ਗਾਂਧੀ ਨੇ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਮੈਂ ਕੀਨੋਟ ਸਪੀਕਰ ਹਾਂ, ਉੱਥੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਾਂਗੇ। But today I could have spoken in Punjabi also here, but I decided to speak in English, right or wrong. So it is a double pleasure, more than a double pleasure. It's a pleasure because I studied in this university. I did my first degree, second degree, honors in economics, honors school in economics, and then I went to JLU, did my MPhil and came back and taught for many years. And I was very active in student politics also. I was telling some of the students who came to pick me up that I went through a very difficult phase. Some of you know, some of you don't know. And then I was very active in the teachers movement. Before I left for Oxford, I was president of the PUTA. And PUTA was genuine PUTA. PUTA was a fighting organization, and Brar was one of our great friends and part of that PUTA. So that is one pleasure, that coming back to a place where you are studied, where you are taught, and I still keep links with so many friends. Brar and other friends are examples of that. Secondly, I was immensely happy when I heard this election result, that Kanupia has won this election and SFS has won this election to Punjab University Student Council. Some of you might have seen, I wrote an article next day for the Tribune and expressing my happiness, and that was one of the most cited, circulated articles which I have written and published. And so that is a second pleasure, that coming to speak at an event organized by this, and also as Bhupinder Brar said, on a topic on which students should do that. We are passing through a very critical phase, both globally but even more critically in this country. And it's only by challenging dominant ideas, by being critical, by asking questions, that we do what we are supposed to do. We are in the world of higher education. And of course, the third pleasure is, it's a pleasant pleasure that Bhupinder Brar is chairing this meeting. So it's a very positive feeling to be to start speaking on this. So coming to the topic on globalization, I kind of listed 5 questions which I think I will use my 45 minutes or so. What is globalization? How do we define globalization? And then what drives globalization? Now, what is the cause of globalization? And third, what are the changes brought by globalization? And then what is the impact of these changes on the present and future generations, which is the subject of the title. And then why should we bother about the future generations? And because there are some people who say that we shouldn't bother about the future generations. And then what challenges does globalization have for the present generations, and how should we respond to those challenges? So I've kind of listed 7 questions which I'll try to answer one by one, but I'm sure there'll be time to ask questions and be as critical as you would like to be in asking questions, even expressing dissident views or differences in what I have said, and I look forward to also gaining from that. So first, looking at globalization. What is globalization? Sometimes it is expressed in, sometimes formulas are good to say something. Some people put globalization as 3 Ts. 3 Ts means trade, technology, and telecommunication. That if you were to sum up globalization, what is happening? It is that the globalization of trade and it's technologically driven, and telecommunication, internet and digital technology, etc., has brought this globalization. Now, this is a description of interconnectedness, global interconnectedness. And to that extent, it is right, it is correct, but it's not sufficient. Because this is merely a description, and as students of social sciences and natural sciences and biological sciences, you will all kind of recognize that we want to know, okay, this is a description, but how do we explain that description? Why it has happened? What is the cause of that interconnectedness? And so how does one understand the cause of globalization, or how this has come about? So that takes me to the second question, that what drives globalization, or what is the cause of globalization? Now, globalization, really speaking, is very closely associated with the rise of capitalism. Capitalism is not a socio-economic system which has always existed. Some people would say that it came with the French Revolution in 1789, but even if we extend beyond that, it doesn't have a life of more than 500 years. Before that, there were several pre-capitalist formations. And one of the earlier pre-capitalist formations was feudalism. And one major difference between feudalism, which is one of the pre-capitalist social formations, and capitalism was, or is, that pre-capitalist formations, the human activity was mainly geared towards consumption. That people worked in order to secure what they needed to eat, which doesn't mean that it was just or it was equal. The feudalism was a very aggressive system, but it was geared towards fulfillment of consumption requirements. And normally, the consumption requirements of the feudal nobility. Feudal nobility needs to build palaces. They need to wear expensive jewelry and clothes and very delicious foods. So it is to fulfill their consumption needs. And whatever little trade is required, it is for the purpose of this, that one lord in Egypt has built a palace, and someone in Rome also wants to build a palace like this. Someone has tasted food from India, and the lord also wants to have the taste from India. So it was driven by consumption. And in the process of consumption, the exploitation of the peasantry or tenants and serfs was geared towards that. So in other words, it was an economic system which is driven by the logic of consumption. The difference between feudalism and capitalism is that capitalism is a system which is driven by exchange, where production is not meant for consumption. Production is meant for exchanging, for earning profit out of that production. Now, how did it come about? It's a long story. I'm going to cover that in another workshop in Punjab University, Patiala, on the 2nd of November. If some of you have the time and interest, you can come there on Punjab University, Patiala on 2nd, where I'll be speaking on the more of the production. But very briefly, that under feudalism, like in all social formations, technological development takes place. Human beings are very creative. We are very creative people, and we do lots of experiments. And in fact, in the history of technology, the hand was the first tool which human beings used in order to pick up fruit and other things. So with the development of technology, productivity increased. And when productivity increased to such an extent that what was being produced was more than the consumption, surplus was generated. And that surplus led to trading. And once that trading started, then out of that trading, a class emerged which participated in this trading activity, which we call the trading class. And the emergence of trade, one can say, was the first starting point of globalization. That it is with trade when society started trading with each other, and that time it was sea transport. That was the major form of transportation. That's why you would see that most cities in the world are situated on the ports, because that's whether it's London or it's New York or it's Paris or Mumbai or Karachi or Dhaka, they are port cities, or Calcutta. They are port cities because that's how the transport used to take place. That was the main mode of transportation. So trade emerged, and out of trading emerged the trading class or the merchant class, which we can also say is the trading capitalist class, who earned their profit through trade. And that trading undermined feudalism and gave birth to capitalism. Eventually, out of trading then emerged industrial production, and then there was the Industrial Revolution, and then we have the modern form of capitalism, which started, which kind of emerged very strongly in the 19th century. So that's what that has kind of driven globalization, the growth and emergence of trade within the boom of feudalism. And then by the end of the 19th century, capitalism which was a dominant system in Europe. England and France were the first centers. Though there is a new research actually which is coming out which shows that trade was hugely well developed in the Mediterranean countries. In the Arab countries, a strong Arab trading class had emerged, and that is still unexplored area. But Europe, England, France, Germany, these are the major countries. And once they had saturated their markets, they started going beyond this. And two theorists, one Lenin and one Rosa Luxemburg, they tried to conceptualize this. Lenin argued that when capital is not able to realize high rate of profit within the domestic boundaries, it exports capital. So capital goes to India, it goes to Africa, it goes to Latin America. And Rosa Luxemburg, she was a great revolutionary from Germany who was assassinated by the fascists. And she wrote a brilliant book, Accumulation of Capital, in which she argued that capitalism basically survives by selling. Okay, that having a market is very important. There's no point in having a production if you're not able to have a market. So the whole logic of capital would be to search a new market. So they will search one market, if that gets saturated, they'll search for new markets. And her argument was that all the markets are searched, then capitalism will reach a crisis. But so some students have said that I should keep the lecture in Hindi. My Hindi is not very good, and it's so Punjabiized, which actually is a true Hindi of Punjabis. I met one scholar from Yoka University the other day, and I was saying that I find it a bit disturbing that I go to Punjab and a lot of people speak Hindi, and she said actually, honestly, the Hindi with Punjabi people speak is so atrocious. And I said that is actually true. That reminds me of my JNU days. That my friends from UP and Bihar used to say that these Punjabis who speak Hindi, they think they're speaking Hindi. And also when you hear someone from UP and Bihar speaking Hindi, it's so beautiful. And there is a lyricism about that. So I'm not making criticism of anyone who speaks Hindi, but I'm just recognizing my own limitation. कि मेरी हिंदी यानी चंगी नहीं है. So I might speak few words here and there, but I will try maybe in the question answer session, because if you ask me a question in Hindi, that will prompt me to kind of answer it. So it is with the late 19th century when colonialism started, when imperialism started, when England came to India, and as you know, that India was a big battle for big capital. Where the British fought with French fought with the Portuguese fought with the Dutch, and whole of India was occupied by the English, except small part, which is Goa, which was under Portuguese control, and Pondicherry, which was under French control. Therefore, in Pondicherry, people speak French as easily as we speak English, and in Goa, people speak Portuguese as easily as we speak English. So colonialism kind of reproduces itself. I've just come back from Brazil, and Brazil was occupied by the Portuguese, and the whole of Brazil speaks Portuguese. In fact, their local languages have died, and they have just completely forgotten their local languages. But the rest of major part of Latin America was occupied by Spain, so the rest of Latin America speaks Spanish, except Haiti, which was under French control for some time. So that is the kind of second phase, that it is driven by this logic to search for markets to invest capital, and to search for markets to sell commodities. So that's what drives. So though description of globalization, that it is trade, communications, telecommunications and technology is right, but that's only a description. It does not tell you how that has come about. Now, what are the changes brought about by globalization? Of course, one change is that almost no area and no resource has been untouched by global capital. Global capital has penetrated almost every sphere of the planet, except some areas which are inhabited by indigenous communities. And that is very, very important, as it will become clearer, hopefully, by the end of my lecture, that there are indigenous communities in Brazil, in parts of India, in Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh, parts of Andhra Pradesh, where there are still indigenous communities which do not follow this logic. Parts of Indonesia, parts of Africa, where there are indigenous communities. If you say that there is a limitation, otherwise every resource, whether it's water or forest or coal or oil, everything has been tapped by global capital. So one is this, that's one big change, that nothing is left untouched by globalization. The other is the concentration of centralization of capital, that and unevenness which has brought about. That globally there is unevenness, that there are advanced industrialized countries, and there are third world countries. Within third world, of course, also India and China are emerging as big powers with huge inequalities in between, both regional inequalities and class inequalities. The level of inequalities which we've seen is unprecedented. There's a book by Piketty, it's called Capital in the 21st Century, which is the most extensive empirical investigation of inequality. If any one of you want to have a little look at it, just go to Google and find this Piketty. There are various summaries of this. The book is quite big. We read it as a group. It took us several months to read. So that is one big change which has taken place as a result of globalization. The inequalities have expanded and multiplied many, many times. There are various statistics that 1% of the richest people control 50% of the resources and things like that. That's kind of easily available. And I also want to briefly comment upon the question of poverty and inequality. That sometimes people confuse this reduction in poverty with a reduction in inequality. That I personally believe that it is in the interest of capitalism that poverty gets abolished. Why do I say this? Because capital depends upon markets, which means that it depends upon people having purchasing power. That if people buy goods, they are able to sell. So if poverty gets abolished, more consumers come into the market, and capital would like to have that. So to some extent it is true, with globalization, poverty, the way it is defined, I mean there are various other ways of defining poverty, has been reduced. In China, there has been a significant reduction of poverty. Similarly, in India, if you go by the figures, there's a World Bank defined figure that those who have less than $2 a day or $1.50, how they define poor and extreme poor, that number has come down. But poverty has reduced in that sense, but inequality has not reduced. Inequality has increased. Now, this sometimes looks confusing, and you might be surprised that this was found confusing by the World Bank president who once came to lecture in Oxford, and students were protesting against the World Bank that causes poverty, and there was one brave girl who stood up in the lecture and said that you are the president of that organization which causes poverty, which leads to increase in poverty. So in the question answer session I asked him that I'm willing to believe that you are genuinely interested in reduction of poverty. And why I said that is because of what I said earlier, that I believe that they are also interested that people should start buying more. If they have more purchasing power, they'll be able to buy more, so there will be more market. But I said I can believe that you're interested in reduction of poverty. But the question is whether you are also interested in a reduction of inequalities. He said, why should that not happen? If poverty gets reduced, inequality should go. I said, not necessarily so. Because if poor people's income rises by 1%, and richest people's income rises by 5%, poverty has gone down, but inequality has increased. He said, well, we've discussed this after the lecture. And many people told me that it's not that he hadn't understood. He wasn't willing to answer. He wasn't willing to admit that there is this flaw in their policy framework. So we might find in the future, as a result of globalization, that everyone has been integrated into the global market. So the visible poverty might go down, but inequalities are not going to go down. Inequalities is a major feature of the globalization. The other is massive loss of biodiversity. And this is one aspect which is not normally understood. Globalization is leading to loss of massive loss of biodiversity. Lot of species are dying. That human beings have become so aggressive that they are killing non-human living creatures at a vast scale. The number of species which have lost in the last few decades is more than what were lost in a few hundred years before that. And you might wonder that, why that is important. It is important because we are a part of nature. That birds and animals and plants and trees and they are also as much part of it. This planet is not only for human beings. This planet is for all of us to live together. And also we would realize that we feel good about nature. When we go to the forest and listen to the singing of the birds and the wind and we go to the beach or we go to botanical garden, we see the flowers, or we take care of our pets, dogs and cats, we feel a sense of pleasure. We feel a sense of that unitedness, which some people call God. The whole of poetry, religious poetry is dealing with this. Nature is being celebrated as God. And so, tearing us apart from those living creatures and leading to the destruction of biodiversity, in which non-vegetarianism will also play a part, but I'll come to that in the future. So loss of biodiversity is also a very major change brought out by globalization. And I'm not keeping track of time. So if Brasa or Kanu, you are keeping track of time, tell me at some stage where, give me 5 minutes before I could stop. Now, then one might ask a question, which is the fourth question I outlined. That okay, we accept this, that these changes are taking place, that there is, inequalities are rising, loss of biodiversity taking place, and capital is kind of occupying, is penetrating every sphere, and it's also leading to inequality does not stand on its own. Inequality also leads to massive conflicts, and then out of conflicts rises violence. And whether it is in India or in Brazil or any other country, it is basically inequality and the struggle against inequality which leads people to a situation where there are conflicts. So one is saying that okay,